What happened? Let's get into it,
and they're
man.
bleeding, they're hemorrhaging, like we're dying. And before you know it, you're millions of dollars in the hole, but everyone's telling you how great it all is. But it's not sustainable and it can't work. And that's 100% my fault.
Accountability, we like those.
The truth is, I think that everybody lost.
Okay, Marlon was moving very mad in this video, bro. There was this point where he grabbed his shoulders, pulled him towards him, then he was like, oh shit, the camera's on, and then he pushed him away again.
The truth is, I think that everybody lost.
He was moving crazy in that video.
I think that the boys lost. I think that Faze, of course, lost. And I think the biggest loser in all of this is you guys.
We deadass will never have another partner segment in our lives. No, we gotta figure out
this picture.
I mean, I don't know about that. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, the people who watched Faze religiously or whatever got content, calm, they broke up and that, bro. But the boys pretty much, bro, they leveled the shit pretty much straight away in that, fam. When everything was in disarray, people were tweeting that I've left Faze. They pretty much made a video instantaneously saying that, yeah, we're still going to be doing what we're doing. And now look, they got the cowboys or whatever. So I don't know if the fans really lost out still. I can't lie to you. I don't know if they lost out. It's more so the people behind the scenes, because even the people on the camera in terms of the content that they were creating, the milestones that the boys reached in that, bro, they were winning. I feel like it was more so the behind the scenes and the structure and the people that put years and years and years into Faze and all of that type of stuff and that. And you get me? The boys also lost in some sense because they loved it as well, you know what I mean? But yeah, I wouldn't say the fans really lost because we've just been getting content.
It's a recreated Faze picture, and I constructed this picture on set. Like I told them all, like crowd in and make this picture, and we took a picture. This was my direction, my vision.
Oh, brother, this old man still doesn't get it. Literally just yesterday at the end of April, Faze Banks decided that it was time for him to return to the internet and make a statement as to what happened to Faze and his new venture. He went to a constructed set, a very corporate look, one in which I think the lighting was actually very beneficial, and announced that he is basically becoming the Andrew Tate of the space and saying that he is going to turn into this financial guru, one that is supposed to help young
Yo, when is this? I'm selling courses. I'm a financial guru. If you want to make this much money in this space of time, follow me. When is it gonna end, bro? Yo, that trend genuinely needs to die. No, genuinely though, it actually needs to die. Everyone and their mother is doing that, bro. What do you mean financial guru, bro? You just tanked Faze in that, bro, and you're the main spearhead for it, bro. Why would anyone follow your advice, bro? Like, what are we doing? Obviously, there's multiple parts to a organization like that and that. You know what I mean? But we literally just saw something just fail catastrophically, bro. So why would anyone take anyway?
Men in their new endeavors. But what I do find interesting is that the ex-Faze boys, now going by the name of Core, decided to do the most rock and roll thing ever and stomp on Faze Banks's new emergence to the scene with the introduction of their own channel, their own group content in their new content house. Banks was watching as the new generation recreated Faze without needing Faze anymore. He can say that that image that they had is a reconstruction of an image that he had once made, but that's the problem right there. The image lives on because it didn't need the corporate entity behind it. The chemistry survived, the audience survived. It's the company and the corporate interests that ultimately ruined the group that are no longer there. And that's exactly what the space needed. Banks had built the
And it's obviously it's sad, innit? Because I wasn't really a person that was watching Faze or whatever. Like I said, I grew up in Africa, innit? I came back to England in like 2014, and you could say Faze was pretty much established by then and that, bro. And then I didn't really get into watching content maybe 2015, 16, you know what I mean? So it's unfortunate to say like a Faze that's basically been a constant within this space is not there anymore. And obviously because it boomed and got so big or whatever, and you achieve new heights, it's like, what's the next thing and what's the next thing? And then obviously joining a corporate kind of, incorporating the corporate side of things into Faze and that, I guess it somewhat made sense because of how big it was, and you're trying to find the next thing to do and all of that type of stuff and that, fam, and the pressure and da. So it's unfortunate that it's the case and that, fam, you know what I mean? But like I said, people learn from it, and now the boys are doing their own thing and that, fam. I like the name The Core, but The Core Boys, I don't know. The boys at the end makes it sound a little bit.
The room, but Core had walked out with the culture needed to carry on in the streaming space. If you're new to this and haven't already, please hit that subscribe button. It's gonna go a long way for the channel. I will never let our corporate overlords overtake us, and your subscription means that we're a real community and real people. Now, back into the video. For those of you who don't know, this is a very special day for me. It is something that I talked about a minute ago when I was called to center stage to address the Faze, well, ex-Faze guys now at this point. point about the inner workings of their business. Ultimately, I would be vindicated. I know I'm tooting my own horn. It's gonna come full circle here in a second. And
yeah, exactly like Faze Banks.
now, after just a short amount of time, we are seeing the power of friendship really prevail. You see, the problem was that Faze was never supposed to be a normal company. It was supposed to be something that was the opposite of that. It was punk rock, it was rock and roll, it was hip hop, but for the industry that is now the internet / social media and content creation. These were friends, these were gaming, this was streams, this was content, this was culture live.
For what it's worth, for what I believe, I think that Faze should always be a group of friends who are performing internet culture live. That's what it's always been. That's what it always should be. And that's clearly what people care about.
I think that Faze Banks, or whatever he's calling himself nowadays, would know that better than anyone. Faze became legendary because it was impossible to manufacture. It was not professional in the traditional sense. It was supposed to be authentic. It was supposed to be real. It was never the appeal that there was some sort of corporate entity pulling the puppet strings behind it. No, that was never the case. But the problem was that once Faze from the gaming days reached some sort of success, it started to chase the industry validation and decided to go into the more corporate and more professional space. And this is where it all went left.
And that's what happens in that, man. It's like you said with hip hop and all that type of stuff, how it starts from a pure place of just the art or whatever. And then people get so big that they start chasing the charts and the numbers. It happens, innit, bro? Everyone has different goals or whatever, man. But yeah, I don't know whose decision it was to go corporate. Like I said, because Faze was so global and such a crazy entity and that it makes sense why they were drawn to the corporate world. Because it's like, oh yeah, it makes sense just to go there because of how big it is and da. But yeah, man, like we've seen time and time again, so many different versions of content creators and content groups or whatever, and going corporate and letting the corporate people, because all they care about is just numbers and statistics and that, fam. And with how the purity of content, it doesn't go that content starts in people's rooms, you know what I'm saying? And that with bad editing to great editing, and that with learning how to do certain things at such a bad level and then developing your skill, like it's a pure art form, you know what I mean? So attaching that to the corporate world, it was pretty much never gonna work, but it happens in that, fam. Now people can learn from it.
And decided to go into the more corporate and more professional space. And this is where it all went left. Faze didn't become legendary because it looked like some company that we're used to. It actually became legendary because it was the total opposite. But the bigger that Faze got, the more it started acting and operating like a traditional company. And at that point, the machine started to disrupt as opposed to build and help it navigate. You had more money, more structure, more oversight, and more pressure to monetize. And at that point, all of the base and foundation that it built on, this is where stuff started to get compromised.
And I tried to extend that experience.
The core of Faze was lost in that, bro. You know what I mean? You might weren't abiding by the founding fathers' rules of Faze, you know
to these guys and have these conversations about building business, but they're kids and they want to fucking stream, and that's not a problem. That's not an issue. That's what you guys want. That's what they want, but it's not necessarily what the company needed or what we wanted, right? So that's where shit starts to get messy.
And see, this is where the problem arises. Faze became industry. The creators wanted to create, but the company needed some sort of monetization. The only way that they were going to continue any sort of backing when it came to these guys is if they saw some sort of return. And I guess that would be fine if it was explicitly spoken about, but that's where the shystiness of Banks himself came into play. You've now set up this business on the foundation of friendship, vibes, chaos, and live culture, and now they are trying to extract that feeling while not being 100% upfront with everybody that's involved.
Tomorrow, everybody were to leave Faze, right? Is Faze bigger because of the guys and what they did? It's absolutely not. Like Faze didn't really grow or go anywhere from them doing all shit on Faze. It didn't bring the brand anywhere.
The conundrum is like a chicken.
I beg to differ, because I wouldn't say that they made them bigger, but they definitely brought them back, because Faze was kind of like, no one was talking about Faze. The guys definitely brought Faze back to somewhat of their glory days and that, bro. You know what I mean? Whether they made them bigger, if it was old viewers that were re-engaging in Faze, obviously that can be argued, but at one point, Faze just wasn't being talked about. Like, no one cared about Faze. These boys injected a new life into it. So 100% they definitely played a vital role in that, bro. You know what I mean? Winning Org of the Year and the Faze were nowhere near all of them type of awards were at one point. You know what I mean? So the boys definitely, whether you want to say revitalized and re-injected a new life into Faze, or quote unquote made it bigger or popular, or actually re-injected new viewers, I guess that can be argued, but there were definitely a vital point to why Faze was just so popular in recent times.
In an egg type of situation, does the brand need the creators? Does the creators need the brand? Do I think both that the creators made Faze
Actually, I don't know, you know, because creators have a lot of power. Like what I'm saying, this isn't the music industry where rappers needs funding and da-da-da. If you're a type of creator, like the cowboys or whatever, bro, like all these individuals and that, bro, you can make things tick by yourself and as a content creator doing it at the biggest level, which pretty much all the cowboys kind of are, you know what I mean? So it's debatable. The organizations definitely need them, but do the boys need the organization? Is debatable.
The creators, does the creators need the brand? Do I think that the creators made Faze financially successful? No, I can only take the word from
well,
Banks,
that part,
the
no.
CEO of it all. They had to spend a lot of bread, and I do mean a lot of bread, to make these guys look more poppin', look more successful, etc., etc. But from a cultural perspective, we can't not acknowledge how impactful and important these individual creators were into taking Faze into a new stratosphere. And obviously, they're
Yo, I'm not gonna lie, bro. I just need to stop talking, bro, and just watch the video and just be quiet. Because I basically be repeating the exact same thing that Omizi be saying. And well, I be saying it, and then he says
seem
it.
to be a way for the company to value the cultural impact and the cultural value of the collective creators. And then obviously the creators themselves didn't have any idea or notion or care about the company being profitable or monetizing, which again, I don't doubt them, and I don't think that that matters really, because they're creators at the end of the day. But when you're somebody who's sitting there and trying to make that thing go, trying to force in the creators, force in the machine, all these different things like that, something's got to give and something's got to break. And there's one person and one person alone who was forcing these two things together. It's this guy who was at the forefront of having this terrible conversation where he basically misled groups of people, fell for these different narratives online, and tried to keep everything afloat. Banks knew how to keep Faze alive culturally. Hey, I uplift these young guys, put them in a place and space to succeed. But ultimately, he didn't know how to build that structure with the corporate entity, and ultimately it became unsustainable and it failed.
And then this is the guy that apparently became a financial guru, and that bro is becoming a financial guru, bro. Please.
And that's 100% my fault. That was my job to figure that out. And I cared more about fucking Twitter and more about the content and more about the brand stuff. But now it's in a fucking worse spot in a lot of ways than it's ever been. So it's like, fuck, man. Like
But that's what it's supposed to be. The content always comes first, though, bro. The content always comes first. It's just what you guys were attached to, and that's the corporate world and that, man. And those two things can't coexist. You can't love the content the most and that, bro, when you're attached to a corporate entity, bro. It's more about the statistics and da. You know what I mean? You can't do it in a certain way where you care about the content and then somewhat tie that back into the statistics and making money and da. Where you can't solely care about the content and that, fam. But I feel like that's how every single content creator has grown. From in your bedroom, not caring about money, just creativity and the content. And that's how all these guys got big and that, fam. You know what I mean? And then when the waters get muddied, basically, when a corporate entity comes in, because they don't give a shit. They just care about the bottom line.
It's crazy ironic and it's insane, but there were two halves to this brand and this company. One was very much in front of the camera. We have a whole other side in the back. That's where over the last few months, like, I have to just fully take accountability and just accept the fact that that's where I went wrong in this. That's where I fucked.
And you know, like oil and water. That's what this was basically, bro. It's like oil and water mixing together, and you just wasn't.
I wish I could say, "Fuck, I didn't know, dude." Like, mistake, whatever. But I did know.
Now, let's not get it twisted. Banks is a smart guy. He's claiming that he was ignorant about the business side and why the creators weren't aligned and all these different things. But for what it's worth, from what we also know about him, he was trying to have his cake and eat it too. I think it's as simple as that. He was good at making Faze feel relevant again, but attention is not the same as alignment, and narrative is not the same as structure. And more importantly, culture is not the same as ownership. So then when you have the creators and the company not aligned, the brand eventually becomes something that, creators have to escape from. This is almost like a situation that they play out on Disney Channel or any kids show tropes where they have two divorced parents. Hey, you go tell mom that I need her here. I'll go tell dad that I need him here. And then ultimately they should end up at dinner together and maybe they'll reconcile their differences. But this isn't TV, gang. At some point, you're going to have real conversation. And this is where I think that Banks truly showed, to me at least, how he became the new Andrew Tate of the streaming industry. There's been accusations of Tate doing his OF services where he manages these young ladies and acts as some sort of middleman, etc., etc. I don't want to go into any details about that, not too much. But Banks starts moving like this, less of a creator, more like a figure, a businessman, a quote-unquote mentor, and the accountability guy. He's the guy that's saying that he understands it all, he has everything under control, and he's playing this middleman position, but it all ultimately came collapsing down. And
that's what I was just thinking earlier, bro. Like, when it comes to organization, especially with content creation, there's a certain realism with it. Like, when something goes wrong, if it's like a TV show or them guys just put out a statement. All you're seeing is just words. When it comes to the content creation world, when something goes wrong, the guys go onto the camera and that, fam, speak to the actual viewers and supporters direct and that, fam. So I feel like when you have two worlds, like the corporate world and the content creation world, in terms of the guys, I feel like all of them people should have basically pretty much always be in the same room, and everyone knows what's going on, and there's not this middleman saying this to these guys and then this to these guys, because a middleman in that situation, I feel like, just doesn't help anyone in that, bro. I feel like everyone has to be a flipping unit in that, bro. You know what I mean? So if Banks was acting as a middleman, that's also another big sign of where things can go wrong, and the one person acting as the mediator instead of everyone that's involved kind of seeing themselves in one room and discussing things and
trying to do his own personal rebrand on top of the rubble of that messy collapse. There's still something that was beating and breathing underneath that rubble, and it was the authenticity, it was the friendship, it was the relationships, and it was the content that the Faze boys, or ex-Faze boys, were able to produce. In the middle of Faze Banks' big reveal and coming to Jesus moment about what he did wrong, holding himself accountable, hey, woe is me, there was a tweet that dropped from Feared Buck. There was a Core House tour. Nobody knew what it was. It just claimed to be a new streaming group. But what was surprising was when everybody clicked on the video, it was familiar faces. It was the ex-Faze guys displaying that, hey, we have started something new, fresh, and invigorating with some key components of the old. That chemistry, that natural content, that friendship, that authenticity, and an audience that has grown to trust these individuals to produce some of the best content possible.
Welcome to the new house! Yes!
Exactly, that moment right there. That
Produce
moment
some of the
right
best
there.
content possible.
Marlon was moving so crazy in this video, pulled him towards him, and that when they're like, oh shoot, the cameras are rolling and that one. I'm gonna get caught in 4K, and then he pushed him away. No, I don't know what that was.
Let's do it. New house, new crib. You gotta pop it off.
And then, you know, when the camera's rolling, you just gotta do something. Look at Silky, look at Silky, look at Silky.
Let's do it. New house, new crib. You gotta pop it off.
I wait on it,
Hey, yeah, them boys are getting money, bro. Whether they bought this outright or whether they're renting, bro, them boys, either way, they're getting money. Them boys are getting money.
And tennis court.
Like, I'm actually about to get my jumper back.
What do you mean get it back?
Like, I had a jumper before.
You never had one.
Hold on,
You never had one.
And I want to say I'm genuinely proud of these guys for putting their money where their mouth is and doing this thing on their own. I'm not even saying that it's 100% coming out of their own immediate pockets. I can't say that for certain. But what I can say is they are leading with their friendship and authenticity. I didn't see any labels or names or sponsors. First, I saw authentic content creators coming together.
Why does he keep replaying that clip though, specifically?
Something special. The saddest part about it is, though, back on the Faze Bank side, he still doesn't get it.
This picture is a recreated Faze picture, and I constructed this picture on set. Like, I told them all, like, crowd in and make this picture, and we took a picture. This was my direction, my vision. These guys look happy, man, to be honest with you. Like, it was a fucking good run, and again, I'm seeing this in real time, and I wish them nothing but the best.
How many times do I have to teach you this lesson, old man? You can manufacture a picture, you can manufacture a house, a branding, a logo, a rollout, but you can't manufacture the chemistry. You can manufacture some company. Hell, anybody can go to LLC.com and create a new LLC. But the reason why Core will be successful is the same reason why these ex-Faze members were successful when they were ex-Faze members. Hell, it's the reason why they were successful before Faze. There's a level of authenticity and realness to the content that they're making that, I'm sorry, you can't just pull puppet strings from behind a closed door and make. Now, I'm not a psychoanalyzer, but it did sound.
And I feel like Faze failed for, it wasn't because of the content. It wasn't because the boys fell out and that, fam. It was other things behind the scenes or whatever, bro. So all the boys are pretty much doing is taking the good from Faze and re-injecting it back into the core and that, fam. So that picture is familiar. Oh, shoot. I swear they did this again. Oh, but now it's their own thing. And that, you know what I mean? That's all they're doing, bro. Leaving the negative, but taking the positive and re-injecting it into basically something that the new venture, basically. You know what I mean? So that's all that is, bro. That's good marketing, bro. You know what I mean? That's a good content strategy.
Interesting how Banks kind of brushed through this
familiarity
really and threw a little bit of shade on the picture that was recreated as the YouTube profile picture for these guys. But I want you to know, Banks, that's not your competition anymore. Core is dangerous to Faze for other reasons. It's because it doesn't look like a replacement. It feels like that old spirit of what you captured originally escaping from that rubble, from those ashes of the building that you burnt down ultimately.
For what it's worth, for what I believe, I think that Faze should always be a group of friends who are performing internet culture live. That's what it's always been. That's what it always always should be, and that's clearly what people care about.
When the fallout happened a couple months ago, the question was supposed to be, can the guys survive without Faze? But after this core announcement, the question
That was
quickly
such a
became,
dumb
can
question.
Faze still feel alive without them? I think that that's where the real damage lies with what Faze Banks did to his company. Now, during his new market show, Banks did hint at the fact that there may be a return to Faze, not in the sense of like an esports way, but in the sense of a content creator group way.
So everybody's clear, like I would
And this is a perfect example as well of when people say, oh, such and such made you. You guys got to realize, bro, when, for example, Kai Cenat and Ray, you can say Kai Cenat made Ray because Kai Cenat took Ray. He wasn't making content. He wasn't doing anything like that. There was just a certain level of chemistry in Taiwan, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, no, I don't think he was in Taiwan. I think they were in another Asian country because I think Ray was on a school trip, if I'm not mistaken. But Kai literally took him from ground zero all the way to 100. But then if you look at someone like Chunks or whatever, Chunks is someone that was working with his group of friends and just Sharky and all of these different guys. They were working pretty much from zero by themselves and that, bro, working. They got to a point and then the talent was then recognized by people like the Sidemen. And then the Sidemen now recruited them into certain videos and that, fam, you get what I'm trying to say? And those videos now became big, but you'll hear certain people say, Sidemen made Chunks and Sidemen made this guy. Nah. Chunks was working, got himself to a spot where people in the industry noticed him, and then there was like, oh yeah, he's a good talent. Let's put him over here in that, brother. Put him into some videos or whatever, you know what I mean? But if Chunks was never working and got himself to that level, no one would have ever took him. So when people were saying Faze made this, guys, no, you're an idiot. These guys were already on the rise. These guys were already doing what they were doing. You get what I'm trying to say? Obviously, Faze, obviously it's a mutual relationship and that, bro. They benefit, Faze benefit, all of that type of stuff. But these guys were always gonna do what they're doing. So when people were saying, oh yeah, these guys need Faze, I'm like, are you guys idiots? Faze needed them, bro. That's why Faze was a big talking point, winning all good year, Now these boys are transferring the energy over to the core boys, bro. They're still gonna win because they were always winning in that, bro. They didn't need to join Faze and that. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Obviously it was a cultural thing, Faze, bro. So let's join it. You get me? And it went good until it didn't. You get what I'm trying to say? But at the end of it, they didn't need Faze. These boys were already doing what they were doing. They were already winning. And now people will realize that.
So
You got to notice the difference in that, fam. You know what I'm saying? And in terms of working and being noticed, and then literally been taken from ground zero to 100. And
Banks
you know what
did hint at the fact that there may be a return to Faze, not in the sense of like an esports way, but in the sense of a content creator group way.
so everybody's clear, like I would like there to be a new Faze
Use that.
member.
And
That's
Sem.
my plans and what I hope to do with Faze. While everyone's telling me I'm
Comfortable.
and telling me that I can't do it and telling me that it won't work and that Faze is dead and that it's over and to hang
Oh, nah, he really got all the stocks and all of that type of stuff in that, fam. Just mad thing. This is crazy to me. But you guys can't even see it, my bad. At the
it up,
bottom
I
there.
wouldn't bet against me, bro.
And he's really going into this financial guru thing.
First person to let you guys know I am going to do it again and we are going to be successful.
But until Banks can realize that it's not about the brand, it's not about the company, it's not about this machine or whatever the case may be, it's more so about the individuals that make up the content creation group, then I don't think that any future endeavors that he will prop up in the next couple years or whatever time span will be successful. Sure, they'll get views. Sure, they'll see accolades and stuff like that because that's what companies can afford you. That's what money can buy you. But at the end of the day, if you don't do the right things to channel that soul of a company, it's gonna leave and it's gonna make another group like Core did. You see, Faze didn't lose because the creators left. Faze lost because the creators proved that they were the company all along. They were the X factor all along. They were bigger than the machine, which is kind of crazy to think about, but it's the truth at the same time. And I don't know if this soul is gonna be
Not gonna lie, though, I think we can leave it here, though, bro. I feel like we reacted to everything that we needed to react
captured
to.
because the leader of
What did
the
Adam
ship
Ross
is
say?
now some new look guy claiming to be an outright business guy, finance guy, attention economy type guy.
After he literally just failed miserably in front of our eyes, and that's not a problem. Things fail, things, you know what I mean? Especially when you're on the internet as well. All your losses get much amplified than the regular person because you're on camera doing it and But for you to fail at that and now say you're a financial guru, it's like, come on now, my guy. At least prove us. You were proved wrong. At least prove us right and then go into the financial situation. Try another group and then do it the right way and then become a financial guru. But you can't come off a loss and then try to teach us about the thing that you just lost about. you could also say, that's actually a good learner because he knows where he went wrong and da. But I don't know about all of that, man. You know what I mean? But
We're streaming from his Twitter as well, and he's gonna make sure that we make a fuck ton of money.
I just think that his first stream back, he should have came and kind of just tried to speak on like new beginnings and stuff. It was good how he did that. The intro was great, but I just think that like the way it was launched, people now have this misconception that like because of the last shit that happened that made them fall out. That's the problem. I think it could have waited.
And this is why I say
Well, yeah, I'm gone though. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. We got pretty much all the information that we needed. And shout out to the Cowboy, shout out to Ormizi and that fam. You know, in our daily news reporter in these YouTube streets and that fam. You know, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. It's your boy Jazz.